proven gambler.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow gamblers, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Farming for College Basketball Futures on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Circa Sports. My name is DaCoochie. I am the conqueror of bad beats, the stat nerd detractor, and the holder of your favorite future. And I will be your host for this show, coming to you each and every week as all the way into March as I try to help you plant some seeds for future winnings this college basketball season. My man in the booth is the always talented and endlessly charming Jason Cooper. And as we start irrigating the field and planting our seeds for this college basketball season, I'll remind you that you can only bet like a pro at one place, and that one place is the Circa Sports. Experience big at bets with high betting limits, better money line splits, and the lowest hold percentage in the game. Also, great customer service, and it's only available at one place at your fingertips. That's Circa Sports. Sports betting has never been better. Just download the app and start funding and betting like a pro from anywhere in Nevada. Get your new bookie today at circasports.com. Now, before we start building our portfolio and planting our seeds this college basketball season, I thought it would probably be a little bit of a good idea to talk a little shop, give you a little bit of strategy on, and some do's and don'ts that I've picked up in my years of betting futures that I think, if you keep them in mind, we should be able to have a profitable college basketball futures season. First and foremost, we do this to win money, and if the farmers don't win, we don't eat. So what I mean by that is the hedge opportunities in the futures markets are kind of one of the reasons you do this. Obviously, you're playing 16 to 1s, 20 to 1s with the inclination and the understanding that these are long shots, but with the ability to hedge in certain situations, it kind of provides us a little bit of value. And for the most part, many of these tickets, you're just hoping to get there in the end. And if you can kind of get to the Final Four, to the championship game of the conference or the national title, it's going to provide you with a great opportunity to hedge, to guarantee some profit and kind of just make a big payday regardless of how the game turns out, which is what it's all about in this game. Secondly, futures never grow in Maine, and what I mean by that is not every team has a price. Usually you look at games and you're looking at a single game outcome and you're thinking only one or two things can happen. This team can win, this team can lose, and that's not the case in the futures market. Lots of things can happen. It's into the future. Things are always changing, and what that means is some teams are just not worth the look no matter the price. You can give me St. John's at plus 2,000, plus 25,000, plus 25 million. I'm not going to take them to win the national championship this year. It's just not worth the investment no matter how big the payout is. Thirdly, this one is kind of one I've learned through some tough losses and learned through experience. Set it and forget it until it's closer to harvest. Don't allow these future picks to kind of guide you on where you're going to play day to day. If you're watching this video, I think it's probably safe to assume you're looking at college basketball on a day to day, or at least on the weekends, and it's easy to kind of place one of these bets and overvalue that team as such. You got to do your best to kind of avoid that trap and just play the numbers, play your feelings, and trust the process in terms of a day to day basis. And lastly, this one actually has to do with specifically this season, although I think we see it to continue with NIL and how that's going to change the sport. But the big men are back on campus. All over the nation, you see lumber and 7-footers dominating the paint. And honestly, if you look at who's projected to win the National Player of the Year, there's not many guys under 6'8", 6'9" on that list right now. Whether it's Oscar Ishibwe, Hunter Dickinson, Drew Timme out at Gonzaga, big men are dominating. They're going to win They're probably going to win the National Player of the Year. So it's just a good thing to keep in mind, and more so than usual, you got to have a big man who can match those guys if you're going to win in the tournament. So that's where I'm at in terms of strategy right now. I think that moving forward, I'll talk a little bit more about do and don'ts, but for today, I think that's good for now. And now we're going to move into what you came for, a little bit of futures action on today's episode. Now, without further ado, I'm going to get to why you guys came to the video here and why you watch videos like this all the time. I got a national championship pick on the docket for you, and they got a coach who I believe and trust. He's known as a defensive savant, but his offense has really picked up since getting new gear. They've got reliable guard play, 2 seniors playing deep minutes from the backcourt. They're not just seniors in the backcourt, though. They got wings who are also upperclassmen, and upperclassmen are key if you're going to win a national championship. And lastly, and most importantly to some, our boy Ken Pom has this group inside the top 20 in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency, which only one team in the last 15 national champions have been outside those numbers. If you've not guessed so by now, we're going with the bald man, Mick Cronin himself, and the UCLA Bruins at 16 to 1 to win the national championship. First of all, we'll start with the coach. If you're going to win a national championship, you got to have a guy who's been there before, who you can trust, who knows how to get the most of his team. And Cronin is one of those guys in my estimation. His time at Cincinnati was oftentimes heralded on his defense, but it's the offense at UCLA that's kind of earning his acclaim right now. That's what happens when you go to a big-time program. You can get big-time scores. Speaking of big-time scores, their backcourt has one of the best in the Pac-12, maybe one of the best in the country. Jaime Jaquez is just an absolute gunner from the outside. His three-point stroke, smooth as butter. And his running mate, he's got a hell of a name, Tiger Campbell, the point guard, fifth-year senior. He's about as reliable as it gets. He gives his teammates good chances to play the offense. He never turns the ball over. And seeing an uptick this season in his three-point shooting just gives me even more of a reason to believe in this team, because if you can't leave that guy open, this offense is a real challenge. Moving along, another reason why I like this team is the emergence of Jalen Clark. This is a guy who's averaging 14 points a game this season. His defense last year was his calling card. He can really seems like he's going to be able to fill it up. He's quietly becoming a pretty interesting NBA prospect if his offense continues to improve. And just as an overall, they got 3 upperclassmen leading in the team in scoring. That's something I always look at if we're going to win a national championship. You got to have grizzled vets to get it done in March. And the last thing, and probably most important thing to some, if you're going to win a national championship, the history tells us you got to be inside the top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency per KenPom. And with the Bruins ranked 12th in offense, 9th in defense, they're sitting comfortably inside that. And frankly, I think their probably numbers are going to go up a little bit. They played a really tough non-con schedule, and they got some pretty easy games coming forward in the Pac-12. So that's the reasons to back the Bruins. And I'll be honest with you, transparency is key over here at the Hammer Betting Network. There are some concerns for me. Although I'm a big fan of Jaquez, I am a little bit concerned about, can he be the go-to guy in the crunch time? Can he create his own shot at a high enough clip when the offense isn't really working against the better defenses in the country? And although I do obviously think he can at 16-1, it's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on and be a little bit concerned about. And beyond that, I think the real X factor and the big question mark in terms of when we get to the Final Four, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, is can the freshman center get the job done? That's the big question for me. Adam Bona is the guy to watch for the Bruins in my estimation. The freshman came into the program highly touted, and he's not necessarily disappointed, but he's not blown me away. And when we're talking about playing guys like Zach Edey, Drew Timme, the one major concern is, can he actually stay on the floor? His defense has been solid. His offense, he reminds me of a young Amari Stoudemire. He's going to dunk everything if you throw it up by the rim, but he's just fouling too much. As freshmen tend to do, they're trying to figure out how the whistle is going to be coming to him, and at 5.5 fouls per 40 minutes, it's a major concern when we get down into the nitty-gritty in March. But behind him, the Bruins do have some depth. They have his fellow freshman behind him. He's not really getting a lot of minutes so far, but hopefully if Bona does get into foul trouble, he'll be able to pick up the slack. And at the end of the day, with those two concerns being said, I'm not that angry about it. I'm not that concerned. 16-1 seems like a great price, especially coming up. They got Arizona in the coming week away. That's a big game, but I like how this UCLA Bruins team matches up against the Wildcats, and that's why I'm getting in on this number now. Timing's everything sometimes in this future market. If they win that road game against Arizona, this number won't be very long. So give me the UCLA Bruins at 16-1 to be your national champion as my first pick, my first seed planted, so to speak, of this farming portfolio that we're putting together for this college basketball season. So that's all for me today. We got the UCLA Bruins at 16-1 to win the national championship as our first part of our portfolio. And if you like this video, you appreciate the analysis, that would really mean a lot to me if you liked and subscribed. I know my producer, Jason, that's how he pays his bills, so we need it bad. And also just the best way to help take down the books. I can't do it alone. I need your help. And as always, speaking of books, if you're going to be betting like pros, there's only one place you can do it. It's Circa Sportsbooks. And it'll be right at your fingertips if you download the app. Experience big app bets, better money line splits, the best customer service in the game, and much more at Circa Sports. So like I said, download the app and find your new bookie today at circasports.com. Before I go, though, there's one more thing I wanted to say, or a couple more things I wanted to say, actually, is we're going to be tracking all our plays this year from this little project of mine over on BetStamp. It's the best line shopping tool in the game. And if you take a look at the futures market, it really gives you a good idea of where things lay, what prices are being set at which shops. So it's worthwhile to download the app. And it's also worthwhile to check out the Hammer Betting Network. Thehammer.bet is the website you can go to. And every day there's content posted there from the sharpest minds in the betting space, and honestly, it's the fact that it's for free is almost outrageous. So lastly, one more thing. I know I'm hitting you with a lot of plugs right now, but it's because there's so many people that work here that are absolutely amazing at their job. And another one of those people is Jovan and Krabs over at the Hammer HQ. Check out their YouTube channel. They're going to give you a more the day-to-day breakdown in the college baseball space. And while they're at it, they're going to be giving out some of their best bets. So like and subscribe to this channel. While you're at it, make sure to download BetStamp and go check out my boy Krabs and Jovan over at Hammer HQ. And let's try to win some bets here today, fellas. It's going to be a long road to March, but as long as the golden pot's there at the end, I'll be happy to do it. Have a great night and have a good weekend too. Take care.
I am a roving gambler. I'll gamble down in town. Wherever I see a deck of cards, I lay my money down. I gambled out in Mexico and I've gambled up in